So let's play a little stock up, stock down. This is not just for Saturday. This is the entirety of the preseason as we get ready for cut down day tomorrow for the Green Bay Packers and begin to look ahead to the regular season, which starts 13 days from today at Lambeau Field against the Detroit Lions. The first stock up this preseason goes to Matthew Golden, the first-round pick. Boy, oh boy, does he look the part of a wide receiver one. And just about every day at training camp, you were seeing Matthew Golden highlights, joint practices, as Josh, you just alluded to. He's burning defensive backs. And then Saturday in the finale against Seattle, he makes an incredible adjustment on an underthrown ball for a 39-yard reception. All we needed to see. The guy looks the part. He's going to be a huge part of the Packers' offensive game plan this season. And I really do believe the sky is the limit for number 22 here for the Green Bay Packers, both in 2025 and obviously going forward. So first stock up goes to Matthew Golden. Let's move to stock down and stay in that wide receiver room. It's Mecole Hardman. I do not believe he'll make the roster. I just don't think you can make the justification for keeping him around outside of returning, which may start the season with him on the roster, depending on what they do with Jaden Reed, who's dealing with that foot injury. But a fumble in the first preseason game didn't really make an impact in the receiving game at all this preseason. I don't think you can justify keeping him over a guy like Malik Heath, who I know the Packers like a lot. I think the odds are they keep 6 receivers. I don't think they keep 7. If they would, it's likely Mecole Hardman, but I saw nothing in the preseason that made me go, yeah, they got to keep him. So stock down, although the stock was not very high to begin the preseason. The stock is down on Mecole Hardman because he was a guy, I think, at the beginning of training camp, Joshy, I started to advocate for, okay, maybe I could see it. And then he fumbles in the preseason opener and then just didn't really do anything all that impressive. He didn't have a big return at any point throughout the preseason. The math is not mathing in my head as to why they would keep him around come week 1.
Yeah, and he's been a guy that, he was on the Jets. They released him. He went back to the Chiefs. He seems to be, he's one of those guys to me who burns fast through the NFL because his speed was really what kept him out there. And once you start to lose a step and make mistakes, there's really just no reason to have you out there. I thought it was an option of, hey, this is a guy we need to be a deep threat, and he can sort of fill, not to the same quality, but fill a role like Christian Watson's. And I think they're going to find that with Matthew Golden. So Matthew Golden's emergence, I think, makes him even more cuttable, releasable.
Releasable. I like that. Mm-hmm. You may have made that word up, but
yeah, it works.
Second stock up. Let's go to the defensive side of the football. How about Tyron Hopper, the mid-round pick, the third-round pick last year out of Missouri? He's a linebacker who didn't see a ton of time last year. He had some pops on special teams where you go, okay, there might be something there with Tyron Hopper. But I thought from a linebacker perspective, he had a really good preseason. 13 total tackles, 6 of those solos. He had 1 sack. He had a forced fumble throughout the 3-game preseason. Thought he was flying around the field more. All in all, I thought he was very good this preseason. He was never in risk of losing his roster spot. But he's a guy where I think the expectation was naturally, okay, he'll be a depth linebacker and a special teams player. While that's likely still the case, I think you saw enough encouraging signs where if he's the rotate in at that linebacker spot, you feel really good about him. And when you make an offseason signing of Isaiah Simmons, who led the team in tackles on Saturday, then maybe Tyron Hopper falls down the depth chart a little bit. Again, they were never going to release him because he's a mid-round pick from last year. He's only in his second year. That's a guy you're going to justify keeping every day of the week. But I think he showed enough signs in the preseason where you go, okay, actually, you know what? I think we can justify seeing him on the field in 2025. So Tyron Hopper gets a stock up from me. Stock down, we talked about him last week. It's the other third-round pick from last year, Marshawn Lloyd, the running back out of USC. And again, it's not really his fault. But for a preseason where I felt like he was one of the main stories in all 3 preseason games, we want to see what he's got. Can it be a kind of a thunder and lightning combination with him and Josh Jacobs this year? He just continues to get injured. And that sucks for him. It sucks for the Packers who are trying to evaluate how serious and for real he can be as maybe RB2. And they've given him every opportunity to be that. He just can't stay on the field. Going to start the season on injured list. IR, I believe that would be, not PUP, because he participated in the preseason with that hamstring injury. they're going to keep Chris Brooks. They're likely going to keep our guy Emmanuel Wilson as well. I would imagine both those guys make the roster opening day and tomorrow being cut down day. And it's just going to be a wonderful mystery again. When will Marshawn Lloyd be back, and what can he be in the National Football League? So stock down goes to Marshawn Lloyd. Final stock up, at least for this rendition, and then we'll get to anything I missed from Joshy. That big-armed Canadian boy, Taylor Algersma, I think will make the practice squad. I think the Sean Clifford experience is going to come to an end for the Green Bay Packers. I believe it was a fifth-round pick a couple of years ago. Taylor Algersma is an awesome story, and that's what the preseason's about, right? Typically is awesome stories. The guy played at Laurier College in Canada, was really good there, was a second-round draft pick in the Canadian Football League, but opted to sign with the Green Bay Packers this offseason. Got plenty of run throughout the preseason. We didn't see Jordan Love outside of that first game, obviously, with that thumb injury, kept keeping him out of games 2 and 3 in the preseason. Saw plenty of Malik Willis, saw plenty of Sean Clifford, and also saw plenty of Taylor Algersma. He finished his Saturday 6 of 8 for 33 yards and a touchdown, but was sacked twice. But all in all, he's got a massive arm. I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm. I think that's something they'd like to hone and like to see more of on a practice squad and be your emergency third quarterback. So my prediction here is I ultimately think Sean Clifford will be released, Taylor Algersma likely also released but brought back on the practice squad, and they'll roll with him this year as their third quarterback. Could be wrong on that, but that's what I'm feeling after watching the 3 preseason games. Stock goes up for Taylor Algersma. Final stock down for me is the O-line depth, offensive line depth. You like your starting 5, I think, in what I imagine will be Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, and Zach Tom. After that, I don't know how much you like, because yesterday the Packers go ahead and make a move. They send a 2027, that is not next year, the following year, 6th-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for 3-time Super Bowl champion offensive lineman Darian Kinnard. Has only played in 3 NFL games, but he's won 3 Super Bowls in his 3 seasons in the league. Spent his first 2 years with the Chiefs and last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's won a Super Bowl every year he's been in the league. Maybe he brings some good juju to the Packers as he has acquired via trade yesterday. Also, his aunt's cousin is Dolly Parton. It's just a little fun fact for him that I find entertaining. But he is brought in, which means likely you lose Donovan Jennings or somebody, Kadeem Telfort, one of your depth offensive linemen. They typically keep 10 on cut down days. He will be one of the 10, given that they acquired him after the preseason ended. But clearly that tells you all you need to know about how the Packers feel about that room right now. And, well, outside of their starting 5, I don't think it's very good. Maybe the top 6 because I think they feel better about Jordan Morgan than maybe they did at the beginning of the preseason. But all in all, you don't love your depth in that room. You saw what happened in the playoffs against the Philadelphia Eagles last year when the depth crumbles and you lose some pieces due to injury. Their offensive line crumbled in that wild card game against Philadelphia. So they bring in Darian Kinnard. This will be his 4th year in the NFL in exchange for a 2027 6th-round pick. So offensive line depth is my final stock down. Those are my stock ups and stock downs coming out of the preseason. The next time we'll do this is after week 1 against the Detroit Lions. Joshy, anything that came to mind that I missed?
I think the guy you sort of, I don't know if you meant to make it sound like a slight, but Jordan Morgan was the Packers' best offensive lineman through the preseason. He probably deserves starting at left tackle, but the way the team has worked its way out and his ability to play multiple positions and the uncertainty around Aaron Banks and Sean Ryan being who he is, most likely means Jordan Morgan's going to be playing a guard position, which you can agree with or disagree with. I think the best left tackle on the team is Jordan Morgan, and I think he's going to be the long-term starter there. It's just Aaron Banks back. You have incredible amounts of uncertainty there. And Sean Ryan he's an NFL level player, but he's not a guy you're necessarily making a focal point of your offensive line.
And he's entering a contract year, so this will likely be his final year in Green Bay, unless something changes dramatically over the course of the season. But yeah, Jordan Morgan's interesting to me because, to your point, he probably was their best offensive lineman in the preseason. He also got to play just about as much as anybody else. But I don't think he definitively won the left tackle job. And you just said you think he's the best left tackle. You think he's better than Rasheed Walker.
I do. I think Rasheed Walker is a fine option. fine to good, but the Packers clearly have wanted to upgrade that position, that left tackle spot. Rasheed Walker has been fighting for his life, and he's answered the bell every time.
He's been fighting for his life, but he's answered the bell.
They're trying to replace him.
And it hasn't worked.
Last year, he won the left tackle competition like before camp even really started. But this year, due to his own injuries from Rasheed Walker, I think he's sort of just going to get the position because they need offensive line flexibility and they need bodies.
Yeah.
You can't really take a guy in Rasheed Walker and go, well, who's our best 5? And keep him out of there because he can only play one position. Everyone else can play seemingly all the positions. Him and Banks are really the only ones that don't seem like they're capable of moving. So it seems to be working against Jordan Morgan that he's able to play more than one spot.
And it might not land him in the starting lineup, at least come week 1. And obviously they can make that. They can change their decisions at some point. But I think you're right. They haven't come out and declared a winner for that left tackle battle yet, unless I missed it.
No, they haven't. It just, with the way when you sign a tackle, it kind of makes you figure out what
trade for a tackle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Trade for It's pretty clear for Yeah.
And again, it's a 6th round pick in 2 years.
Yeah, which is basically nothing.
Regardless, they still gave it up.
Which
indicates Kennard will make the roster.
Well, they're making calls to find guys so they didn't have to do the clear waivers, all that stuff.
So I think your point is completely correct. They'll treat him as a guard again this season, and this guy will be your depth tackle.